What if I told you that when a man becomes genuinely interested in you, he doesn't just fall in love straight away? Before he lets himself move deeper, he often tests you first. And he doesn't do it to play around, confuse you, or waste your feelings. He does it because he wants to understand if you are a woman he can truly trust, respect, and eventually commit himself to. The surprising part is that most of these tests are not obvious. They are not loud, clear, or direct. They happen quietly, in small, everyday moments, in ways you might not even notice. But to him, those moments speak loudly. The way you respond tells him a lot about your nature and your emotional strength. If you've ever wondered why a man suddenly pulls back, goes silent, behaves differently, or challenges you in an unexpected way, it's usually not an accident. It is done with purpose, even if he doesn't realize he's doing it. And today, I'm going to break down exactly what these tests look like, why men do them, and how you can pass every single one without losing your sense of self. Maybe you've experienced a situation where you're talking to a man. Everything feels smooth, the connection feels warm, and suddenly his energy changes. He becomes more distant or replies slower. He might make a comment that feels strange or act as if he's observing you from a little distance. Nothing major, but enough to make you wonder if you said something wrong. You didn't. In that moment, he's watching you in a different way, almost like he's waiting to see how you'll move, how you'll react, and whether you'll stay calm or shift suddenly. What many women never recognize is this: when a man is genuinely attracted, he doesn't just feel the spark, he feels the need to test how real that spark can become. These tests are not about manipulation. They're a man's quiet, natural way of checking emotional alignment. Deep inside, he wants answers to questions he doesn't speak out loud. Can she stay steady under pressure? Will she stay kind when she feels unsure? Can I trust her with the side of me that is not perfect, the side I hide from most people? You're not being tested, so he can reject you or make you feel small. You're being tested so he can see if you are the woman he can open up to without fear. Most of these tests show up when a man's feelings start growing past simple attraction. You may feel like the timing is confusing, but to him, it's a moment of clarity. These tests never happen randomly. They are emotional checkpoints. They give him a deeper look at your true character, not the version of you that is presented when everything feels easy and smooth, but the version of you under uncertainty. So, if you've ever felt confused when a man slowed down his replies, changed the tone of the conversation, or made a small comment that made you question yourself, you were not imagining things. You were being measured in a quiet way. And tonight, we're going to break down these hidden tests one by one. You will understand the meaning behind them, how to move through them gracefully, and how to respond in a way that reflects your worth without chasing him or pretending to be someone else. Once you understand this, your whole perspective on dating will shift. You will start to see patterns you never noticed before, and once you see them clearly, you cannot go back to the old way of thinking. Why do men test at all? This question has layers that most dating advice doesn't talk about. Men don't test because they want to cause pain or make things complicated. They test because they are trying to protect themselves from giving their heart to the wrong person. Many of these tests are not pre-planned. Most men do them instinctively. When he starts caring about a woman, when he sees her as someone who could matter long-term, his emotional walls automatically rise. His instincts push him to make sure his heart is safe. Men might not express this verbally, but emotionally they feel it strongly. Masculine energy is naturally wired to protect itself, especially when it comes to deep feelings. For a man to commit, he needs emotional security. He needs to feel safe, grounded, and confident in the woman he chooses. So how does he figure out if you're truly that kind of woman? He observes you. He watches how you handle small moments, little challenges, bits of pressure, and shifts in energy. He may tease you lightly, not to hurt you, but to see if you are comfortable with yourself or if you become defensive too quickly. He may pull back for a short time, not because he's done with you, but to see how you handle distance. Do you panic? Do you chase him? Or do you stay calm and keep your self-respect? These small reactions reveal emotional patterns that matter deeply to a man who is serious about long-term connection. A mature man doesn't just look at attraction or excitement, he looks at consistency. He pays attention to whether you are still gentle even when you're unsure, still respectful even when you feel disappointed, still centered even when you don't get everything exactly how you want. These moments show him your emotional strength more than your words ever will. Unfortunately, some women fail these tests without knowing they were even being tested. They see him pulling away and assume they need to try harder, send more messages, or win him back by proving something. But that approach usually backfires. It pushes him away even more. The woman who passes these tests does something different. She doesn't chase. She doesn't panic. She doesn't try to fix everything instantly. She stays grounded, calm, and sure of herself. She responds with emotional balance instead of emotional fear. And that is what makes a man's respect grow. Men want balance in their relationships. They want a woman who brings both softness and strength, emotion and stability. Many women offer passion, but no emotional control. Others offer support, but no spark. But the woman who stands out, the woman who leaves a lasting mark, is the woman who can hold both. She can be feminine and warm without losing her inner strength. She can be kind without becoming a pushover. She can be understanding without abandoning her boundaries. Here's the truth at the center of it all. Men test because they want reassurance. They want to see how you behave under stress, how you respond when things feel uncertain, and whether your character stays solid even when your emotions are stirred. They want to know that the woman they're choosing has emotional depth, not just surface charm. They want to see that you won't turn reactive or desperate when things feel unclear. They want a woman who remains steady, honest, and true to herself. That kind of woman becomes unforgettable. That kind of woman becomes the one he doesn't want to lose. And if you're listening closely, if you're paying attention, you might already be much closer to becoming that woman than you realize. Now that you understand why men test, let's talk about how these tests actually appear in real life, because the truth is, you've probably gone through several of them without even realizing it. These tests aren't dramatic, they're not loud, and they don't come with warning signs. They slip into normal conversations, regular interactions, and small shifts in his behavior. And unless you know what you're looking at, you might misunderstand his actions completely. The first silent test many women face is what I call the gentle pullback. It usually appears early on, right when things are starting to feel warm and promising. Maybe you had an amazing date. Maybe the texting was flowing easily for a week, everything feeling smooth and natural. Then suddenly, his energy shifts. His replies slow down. The quick responses disappear. He might take hours to reply when he used to answer in minutes. Sometimes he even goes a full day without saying anything at all. In that moment, your mind starts spinning. You replay the last conversation. You wonder if you said something wrong. You question if he's losing interest. You think maybe you should send another message just to make sure he's okay. But what you might not realize is that this moment isn't always a sign he's slipping away. Many times, this is his first quiet test. He wants to see your reaction to uncertainty. Do you panic the second things feel different? Do you try to fix something that isn't broken? Or can you match the distance without losing your balance? This isn't about being cold or pretending not to care. It's about showing that your worth isn't tied to constant attention. Women who know their value don't fall apart when things go quiet. They don't chase every shift. They breathe, they stay in their center, and they continue living their life. That emotional steadiness is what stands out. The second quiet test shows up as playful pressure. He may say something that challenges your beliefs, your preferences, or even your boundaries. It's not said with cruelty. It comes out sounding like a joke or a teasing comment. Maybe he says, "You don't watch sports. That's kind of boring." Or he jokes about your job, your style, your goals, or your choices. On the surface, it seems harmless, like he's just being funny. But underneath it, he's paying attention to something deeper. He wants to see if you change your personality just to appear more likable. He wants to know whether you abandon your truth to keep him impressed. A woman who instantly shifts herself to win approval thinks she's being flexible, but what he sees is someone who doesn't stand in her own identity. The most attractive response is never being defensive or shrinking yourself. The response that impacts him the most is calm confidence. Something as simple as smiling and saying, "Nope, I still don't like sports, but trust me, I'm far from boring," tells him everything. It tells him, "I'm not here to perform. I'm comfortable with who I am." That energy is unforgettable because it's grounded and real. Men notice that immediately because not many women stay rooted when they feel mild pressure. The third test is what I call emotional poking. This one is subtle but powerful. It happens when he does or says something that stings just a bit. Maybe you opened up about something personal and he takes a little longer to reply than usual. Maybe he cancels plans for a reason that feels unclear. Maybe he forgets something you told him. These little moments bring up feelings inside you: disappointment, confusion, or irritation. It doesn't always mean he's careless or not interested. Often, it's a natural moment that exposes your emotional reactions. And without trying, he notices how you handle that feeling. Do you start spiraling? Do you assume the worst? Do you accuse him of things he didn't do? Do you use guilt or anger to force a reaction? Or can you pause, acknowledge the feeling, and stay composed? These small drops of discomfort reveal far more about your emotional maturity than long conversations ever could. Most men don't consciously set these moments up. It's not a planned trap, but they always remember how you made them feel in those moments. A woman who handles disappointment with grace, honesty, and dignity stands out without even trying. Not because she hides her feelings, but because she doesn't let temporary emotions control her entire behavior. The truth is, women who pass these tests aren't perfect. They don't get everything right. They simply stay genuine under pressure. They don't pretend. They don't collapse. They don't explode. They stay centered, and that balance is what separates them from everyone else. So the next time a man goes quiet, teases you, or does something that unsettles you for a second, remind yourself it might not be the end at all. It might simply be a quiet test, and how you respond sets the tone for what comes after. Here's something most people never talk about. The test itself doesn't define the future. Your reaction does. How you respond tells him more about your emotional world than your words ever could. Sometimes your silence or your calmness tells him everything he needs to know about your depth. When a man begins to feel something real, when he starts thinking about dropping his guard, he becomes more observant. He's not just checking if you look good or if you laugh at his jokes. He's checking for emotional safety. He's looking for someone he can trust his heart with. Patterns matter to him, more than promises, more than flirting, more than chemistry. So when he takes a small step back and your first reaction is to chase him, send extra messages, over-explain, or assume something is wrong, he notices it immediately. And he doesn't notice it to judge you harshly. He notices because it tells him how you deal with not being in control. Can you trust the connection, or do you fall apart when things don't look perfect? Can you let things flow naturally, or do you try to force outcomes? these questions become louder in his mind when your reactions become anxious or chaotic. Let's make something very clear. Men are not looking for women who never feel anything. They're not looking for robotic calmness or fake confidence. They simply want a woman who knows how to manage her feelings in a healthy way. A woman who doesn't let fear take over every time something changes. So, if he challenges your opinion and you instantly agree just because you want to keep the peace, you're not being agreeable. You're abandoning yourself. And a man with self-respect doesn't want a partner who disappears under the smallest amount of pressure. He wants someone who can hold her truth with softness. Someone who isn't combative, but also isn't shape-shifting to impress him. If he makes a mistake, forgets something, or disappoints you, and your reaction is to explode, punish him with silence, or create unnecessary drama, you might think you're teaching him something. But what you're really showing him is that your emotions are in control of you, that you haven't yet built the emotional strength needed for real love. On the other hand, imagine he pulls away slightly and you notice it, but you don't panic. You don't ignore it like nothing happened. And you also don't attack him for it. Instead, you stay aware, you keep living your life, and you stay connected to yourself. That energy is so rare today that men can feel it instantly. It hits them deeper than any compliment or any physical attraction ever could. Most women either chase or collapse, but the woman who stays grounded, that woman becomes unforgettable. That's the kind of woman a man doesn't want to lose. That's the kind of woman who rises above the silent tests without even knowing she passed them. That doesn't mean acting cold or pretending you don't care. It means staying clear inside yourself. It means understanding that your value does not shrink just because someone took a little longer to reply or didn't give you instant validation in the moment you wanted it. Your worth is not something that rises and falls based on a man's timing, his mood, or his brief shift in attention. And that calm, steady energy you hold within yourself, that is the exact energy that makes a man slowly come back toward you even after he pulls away for a bit. In a world where so many people react quickly, emotionally, and sometimes harshly, your ability to remain centered becomes the very thing that separates you from almost everyone else. It makes you stand out not only as a romantic partner, but as a woman who truly understands her own importance. And now this brings us to what high-value women do in these exact moments when a man gives space, goes quiet, teases them, or pulls back emotionally. Their reactions are the ones that instantly shift the way a man sees them. These responses don't just help you pass his silent tests, they can completely change the direction of the connection. And the best part is they don't require pretending to be emotionless, chasing after him, or performing to prove something. In fact, the most powerful responses are often the simplest ones, the ones rooted in presence, clarity, and self-trust. Take this scenario. A man grows distant. The natural instinct for many women is to do more, send extra messages, check in repeatedly, ask what's wrong, or try to fix something that hasn't even been fully understood. And that instinct is human. Everyone wants reassurance when they care. But here's where the difference appears. A woman who understands her value doesn't chase clarity. She embodies clarity. So instead of reacting to his silence with fear, anxiety, or confusion, she meets it with presence. A high-value response could be as simple as taking a breath, pausing and saying, "I've noticed you've been a little quiet. If you need some space, I respect that. I'll be here when you're ready to talk." Calm, direct, without drama. Feel the energy in that. It's not cold or distant. It's not passive-aggressive. It's not filled with hidden messages. It comes from a place of self-respect and emotional steadiness. That kind of reaction hits differently because when a woman can hold emotional space without collapsing, without spiraling, and without doubting herself, it sends a message louder than any long speech ever could. It tells him she doesn't need him to regulate her emotions for her. She doesn't fall apart without constant attention. She is already whole, already stable, already complete within herself. That is rare, and rare energy is magnetic. Now let's look at another moment that many women experience. He teases you or lightly challenges something that matters to you: your career, your interests, your dreams, your beliefs. A low-value reaction is becoming defensive, snapping, shutting down, or agreeing with him just to avoid conflict or keep him happy. But a high-value reaction looks very different. It's confident, calm, and even a little playful. Something like, "You're allowed to think that, but it doesn't change my view," said with a smile, not a wall. This shows that you can stand firm without becoming hard. You can disagree without becoming combative. That mix of softness and strength is exactly what emotionally mature men find deeply attractive. It tells him you are steady inside your truth, not easily shaken, and not desperate for approval. And then there are the small, unpredictable moments of dating, the moments when plans get changed, when messages slow down, or when something in the interaction feels slightly off. Many women instantly translate these moments into fear. Their thoughts jump to, "What did I do wrong?" or "Is he losing interest?" But women who truly value themselves don't translate everything through fear. They translate things through self-trust. Their internal dialogue sounds more like, "If something is right for me, I won't have to chase it. It will stay." That calm, almost unbothered energy is not coldness. It's confidence. It's knowing that real connections don't require begging, and men feel that. They sense when a woman is steady enough not to perform for approval, not to push for reassurance, not to overreact to small changes. That energy creates space for him to come closer because he doesn't feel pressured or controlled. He feels drawn in. So ask yourself honestly, how do you usually react in those subtle testing moments? Do you lean into fear, or do you lean into your strength? And how would it feel to respond from a place of grounded confidence instead of insecurity? Because the moment you shift from fear-based reactions to self-aligned reactions, everything changes. The energy of the relationship changes. The way he sees you changes. The way you see yourself changes. But before we go deeper, there's something extremely important that needs to be addressed, because this is where so many women get confused, stuck, or emotionally drained. There is a very big difference between a man quietly testing you in a natural, healthy way and a man manipulating you. And at first glance, these two things can look almost identical, but the difference between them is life-changing. If you don't learn to tell them apart, you can find yourself locked in a cycle that makes you question yourself, doubt your worth, and slowly lose confidence. Here is the truth. Not every test comes from a good place. Not every pullback is innocent. Not every challenge is about depth or connection. Some come from insecurity, immaturity, or a desire for control. And if you can't recognize the difference, you might end up trying to prove yourself to someone who is slowly draining your spirit. You must know how to protect yourself emotionally. Here's how to tell the difference clearly. When a man tests you from a healthy place, it comes from curiosity, not control. Most of the time, he doesn't even realize he's doing it. He's simply trying to understand, can I trust her? Is she steady? Can she meet me emotionally? Even when his behavior feels confusing, there is still a sense of respect underneath it. You still feel like you're allowed to be yourself. Your voice doesn't feel erased. It doesn't feel like you're being punished. You feel observed, not controlled. But manipulation has a completely different energy. It's not about knowing you. It's about controlling you. The biggest sign is how you feel inside the connection. When manipulation is present, you feel tense, worried, or anxious all the time. You feel like you can't express yourself freely. You feel like if you say the wrong thing, he might pull away, get angry, or punish you with silence. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. You start constantly trying to get it right. But no matter what you do, it's never enough. When a man tests you, he may step back briefly to observe in a neutral way. When a man manipulates you, he steps back to punish you. A healthy test feels like a moment. Manipulation feels like a pattern, a loop that repeats again and again, a cycle that leaves you confused, exhausted, and emotionally drained. A high-value woman can see these patterns clearly. She notices when something feels off. She listens to her intuition. She pays attention to how her body reacts. She does not change herself to fit someone else's unhealthy behavior. She does not beg for bare minimum effort. She does not shrink her personality to avoid someone's insecurity. She doesn't twist herself into a different version just to keep a man interested. She stays true to who she is, even if that means he chooses to leave. Because deep down she knows something powerful. Losing someone who cannot treat her with respect is never a real loss. It is protection. It is life redirecting her away from someone who would only drain her. That kind of self-respect is not just strong, it is life-changing. It is what separates women who suffer in love from women who rise in love. And the moment you hold that kind of self-respect, everything about the way you attract, connect, and love transforms completely. It's rare, and it's exactly the quality that makes a man respect you. People don't say this enough. Attraction might spark interest, but respect is what builds real connection. You can be beautiful, supportive, even irresistible, but if you don't respect yourself, he won't either. Not because he's cruel, but because we teach others how to treat us through the way we treat ourselves. Self-respect shows up in the small moments, when you hold boundaries without over-explaining, when you say no with calm certainty, when you stop entertaining mixed signals because you'd rather be alone than disrespected. That energy speaks louder than words. It tells him, this is a woman who values herself. If you want space in her life, you show up right. This isn't about being cold. It's about clarity. It's knowing your presence is valuable, and not everyone gets full access. Self-respect is what lets you step back from confusion, stay silent when silence is strength, and keep your power instead of giving it away. A man won't always say it, but when he feels your self-respect, he either rises to meet you or exits your life. And either outcome is a win, because a woman who honors herself doesn't just pass his tests, she transforms the entire dynamic. Now let's pull everything together. The tests men give, the importance of emotional strength, the difference between healthy testing and manipulation, and the role of self-respect. Here's the truth. You are your highest value. No man creates your worth. No relationship builds your confidence. It all begins with how you see and treat yourself. Yes, men test. It's often unconscious, a way to see if it's safe to invest emotionally. But their tests don't define your value. Your responses do. Your calm, steady energy speaks louder than any reaction. Don't lose yourself trying to earn approval. The moment you turn inward and anchor yourself in your own standards, everything shifts. You become magnetic without effort. You attract instead of chase. You become undeniable because you're rooted in truth. And remember, not every man deserves your energy. Some test from insecurity or immaturity. Others test because they want something real. Your job is to trust your intuition and pay attention to actions, not promises. Time always shows who someone truly is. When you lead with self-respect, you naturally draw the man who values your presence, honors your limits, and wants to build something genuine. So take these lessons with you. Respond instead of react. Stand firm without hardening your heart. Stay mysterious by staying authentic. And always choose self-respect first. It sets the standard for every relationship in your life. Before you go, let me leave you with this. Love should never feel like walking on eggshells or begging for attention, The right person won't make you question your worth. They'll recognize it and honor it with consistency and effort. You don't need to overgive or reshape yourself to be chosen. The moment you stand firm in who you are, you stop fighting to be seen and start attracting those who already see you. Stop spending energy wondering if you're enough. The people meant for you will value you without convincing. Let go of relationships that drain you. Write your own story and let others show, with their actions, whether they deserve a place in it. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be aligned with your truth. Repeat to yourself daily, I am worth effort. I am worth respect. I am worth real love. When you live from that mindset, everything in your life elevates. Your self-worth is not negotiable. Walk with confidence and trust that when you honor yourself, the right people will meet you at your level.